A day right now. And you know, Derek, before he came up, his presentation wouldn't work. So he didn't have a presentation, so he did that without any notes and without any backup slides. He's amazing, isn't he?
Yes,
when you have that kind of story, I hope you took a lot of notes because we should all do what he says. Thank you. Thank you, Derek. You were wonderful. Now that's a very hard act to follow, right? Very hard act to follow. But I think we have something that will interest you still. So the HSMAI Foundation took a new mission last year. It took a whole year to come to the mission of an issue that the industry has faced for a long time, and that's finding the right talent for sales, marketing, and revenue management with so many jobs open and so many opportunities and such growth in the hotel industry and in the businesses. Someone needed to step up and try to help the issue, and the foundation board, newly seated with a lot of great thinkers, said, let's do it. But we also said, let's think about who we want to do it with, and let's find the right group to start with. So we built something to talk about awareness in the industry and to come up with a way to make the story of hospitality, jobs and careers in sales, marketing, and revenue management, and we say careers, and who would be new to help us with some of those placements and to think differently. What could we do to influence sales, marketing, and revenue management career paths from the hospitality schools who aren't producing enough people for sales, marketing, and revenue management, or connecting enough to the corporate businesses to understand the issues? What could we do to help with that? And what path could we take for a new industry partner? How many of you were with us when Nicole Malachowski spoke with us in Lansdowne? Right. So I called Nicole Malachowski and said, Nicole, we've been talking about veterans and what we could do to help employment with veterans. Maybe this is an opportunity to do something in that area. And she said, nope, do it for military spouses. She said, the veterans have had a significant investment since 9/11 in their corporate unemployment issues, and they actually are lower than the national average now. But the military spouses, with an unemployment rate of 4%, are still 4 times that average. They have 16% unemployment still. So you have over 1 million military spouses. 91% of them are women. 85% of them would like to work or need to work, and 1 in 4 can't find jobs. The reasoning behind that, we're going to talk about a little bit today, and we're very lucky that the foundation has established, through the help of one of our board members at Wyndham, a relationship with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Foundation. And they have done amazing work out of their beautiful offices in D.C. on both the veterans issue and now the military spouse issue. And what we want to do is bring military spouses who will qualify through a new assessment program we're going to overlay on the pipeline we're going to open to the hospitality industry. We're going to do it in a way starting with corporate fellowships, and we're very lucky today to have someone with us who I think you'll see is the model, sorry Lindsay, that's a lot to ask of you, of who all of us would like to work with. And she's a military spouse as well, but she also has the role of being a corporate director for the corporate fellowship program and hiring our heroes effort from the U.S. Foundation. So what I'd like to do is introduce Lindsay to you. Lindsay, no, I can't do it, Lindsay.
That's okay.
I'd like to introduce Lindsay.
Hey, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to be honest, y'all. I'm a little annoyed with Fran. She did not tell me this was going to be part inspirational, scientific, stand-up comedy TED Talk morning. I don't know how I'm going to follow Derek. I don't know how many of you are lost with the math problems and the talk of atoms contracting and expanding. American school product education right here. That's me. So he had me had me at science, but I will say I do know where Uganda is on the map. I was lucky enough when I served in the Middle East to work with our Ugandan partners, so I learned a few things. And I just want to say, I think we should all say, asante to Derek. Asante, let's give another round of applause. So that is thank you for those of you who do not speak Swahili, but I think we're pretty lucky to have such an awesome opening act. He warmed y'all up. Everybody's in a good mood. You've had breakfast. This is great. So hopefully you will find talking about this untapped population of talent that you can add to your organization just as exciting and inspirational as everything Derek had to offer. Who am I? Lindsay Tepesky, also known as Lindsay, here at HSMAI. Let me tell you what, for some reason, if your name, who else has a name that ends in ski? Man, I tell you, it just throws people off, right? As soon as they see ski, they just panic. They can't say the rest of the name. Even if it's, not Shashevsky, it's just Tepesky, but throws everybody off. I have my husband to thank for that. So I am the Deputy Director with the Corporate Fellowship Program of Hiring Our Heroes. We are a U.S. Chamber of Commerce Foundation program. So a lot of people don't know, I honestly didn't know really what the U.S. Chamber of Commerce did before I started working for the U.S. Chamber. So everyone's familiar kind of with the U.S. Chamber that's in D.C. We also have a foundation arm. That's our nonprofit arm. We have 4 different programs under that nonprofit umbrella. Hiring Our Heroes is just one of them. So that is the one I will talk to you all a little bit about today. I'm going with Derek's E of self, education, right? So I'm just going to educate y'all. I'm also from North Carolina, so any other North Carolinians? Yay! Okay, so I do say y'all excessively. I hope that is okay with you. But it's such a useful word, right? So I'm going to educate about military spouses, some of the programs we have, how you can implement them into your practice of bringing down sales and marketing talent. So as Fran mentioned, she knows her numbers, right? So military spouses have about 4 times the unemployment rate as the average American, right? We know we're right under 4% right now. And military veteran unemployment is at an all-time low. So it's actually even lower than 4%. And like she said, that was our focus for a long time, was on veteran unemployment. Now military spouses are kind of at the forefront of this kind of revolution to offer more employment opportunities, and not just jobs, but careers for military spouses. We did a huge study, Hiring Our Heroes commissioned in 2017, about the plight of military spouses and their employment challenges. I also didn't do my pledge at the beginning. I pledge not to read slides to you, because that is the worst, right? That is like the worst kind of presentation you can go to. So I expect you to read these yourselves. I will not read them for you. But one of the statistics that's not up here, or one of the things we found in the study, is that military spouse unemployment is a national security issue. Right? So people usually don't think of it this way. But if you think about the fact that less than 1% of our population is serving in the military, and it's an all-volunteer force, if the spouses are suffering because of their inability to maintain a career, when it comes time for that service member to re-enlist, they're often faced with a tough decision. And that was found in this study, that one of the biggest things folks look at when they're thinking about staying in the military is whether their spouse has a fulfilling career. So if we can give military spouses fulfilling careers, we can keep our all-volunteer force even stronger. So think about that. So again, I'm not going to read this to you because, I know at least we all may be products of the American school system, but I think y'all can read. So will not read this to you, but want to point out number 3, that experiential opportunities are a huge game changer. So one of our big pushes within Hiring Our Heroes is to offer internships, fellowships, opportunities for hands-on, training, to kind of do a test drive of an employee, a potential employee, before you bring them on board. And for any of you who are in the HR talent acquisition realm, I mean, this is like a dream come true, right? There's nothing better than being able to test drive an employee and see if they're a good fit for your organization before you have to start paying them. So that is where we found we could make a huge difference. So military spouse programs are just one of the many programs in Hiring Our Heroes. Most people know us for our veteran employment initiatives. We also have our military spouse initiatives. We have an events team that runs events all over the country. We have a communications team. We obviously do research. We work on legislation on Capitol Hill. So we do a lot of different things. I actually represent the corporate fellowship program, which is not the spouse side. But as Fran said, I'm an Army veteran. I'm also a current Army spouse. So I'm lucky enough to have one foot in both camps. Also, I did mention we're a nonprofit. So I live right here in Colorado Springs. So that's why y'all got me. Instead of one of the members of our actual spouse team, because they would have had to fly in and stay at a hotel. So we are at least a responsible nonprofit, right? So you're stuck with me. But our military spouse team has a few different facets, and these are all different programs that you can get involved with no matter where you're located, because as you will see, we have chapters all over the country, all over the world actually. We also have military spouse economic empowerment zones. This is a fairly new initiative. The idea is to get hyper-local in the focus for connecting employers and military spouses to opportunities. So Colorado Springs is actually one of the first military spouse economic empowerment zones. This means we have working groups. We have one that just met yesterday, in which we get together and figure out kind of how to bring, how to bridge the gap there. As you can probably imagine, military spouses, do I have any military spouses? Yes, okay, so military spouses, if you're one of us, are sometimes reluctant, right, to self-identify as a military spouse because they think there is a stigma attached, right? There's some myths out there. Military spouses are just going to leave, they're going to move all the time. In reality, fun fact, military spouses stay longer in their jobs and with their companies than your average new employee, right? Because we know new employees now, especially those coming right out of college, no offense, I know we have some students here, but they tend to stay only 1 to 2 years, if that, right, in their new jobs. Military spouses are loyal, and if you can keep them because you have the ability to offer some portability in your industry, they will stay with you as long as they can. Because think about it, if you know you're moving every few years, you don't want to always be worried about applying for jobs, networking, getting connected. So just another of the many reasons you want to hire us. But these military spouse economic empowerment zones are across the United States. There's actually a map, I believe. Oh, maybe not. There's a map on our website, hiringourheroes.org. Everyone visit it regularly. But there's a map of all of our economic empowerment zones. We have employer working groups. So if there's one in the location that you're at, and you want to be a part of that, we'd love to have you. We want the feedback from employers and from the industries on where the gap is and what they need help with in identifying and finding military spouses. So another part of the spouse program that I'm really passionate about, another way you can get involved, this is actually how I got involved with Hiring Our Heroes. I volunteered starting in 2013, before I ever worked for HOH, I was working at the VA in beautiful Leavenworth, Kansas, and I started volunteering with Military Spouse Professional Network. So we have over 50 chapters of these across the world, not just the United States. We are a professional organization of career-minded spouses, military spouses. And we get together once a month, we do professional development, networking, education. We also have a very robust Facebook group that we use. Here in Colorado Springs, I have over 600 career-minded military spouses in that group. So we post job announcements, we help each other get connected, meet the right people. We also have LinkedIn groups for each of these different sites that you are welcome to join as an employer. And that's where we bring you into the mix. So you can get in the LinkedIn group. You can say, hey, has anybody thought about a career in sales or marketing in the hospitality industry? Let me tell you why it's great. Let me tell you why I love it. You can educate. You can meet military spouses that way. So again, on our website, you will find all the many locations of our Military Spouse Professional Network chapters. And this is just great because you know, I think you probably know, it's really hard these days to get people to leave their house, right? To do networking. People want to do everything from behind the computer. They want to apply for jobs online. They don't want to actually get out, put some clothes on, get out, not sweatpants. They want to, they don't want to have to go and actually talk to people. So these chapters are great because we get together actually face to face and support each other. So love being a part of this element of the spouse team. Oh, more facts. Over 20,000 members. It's pretty awesome. 50 sites. Overseas especially. Our overseas sites are very robust. Also, those at, how do you say this nicely? More isolated military installations tend to be even more robust than the chapters we have here, right? Colorado Springs, there's a lot of things to do, a lot of things to see. It's a beautiful place. Everybody wants to be outdoors. So I may get 10 members, who come to a meeting. When I was in Leavenworth, when we were stationed in beautiful Fairbanks, Alaska, we're like an Alaska contingent? No? Oh my gosh. It is so cold there. Okay, do not go unless it's the summer. That's all I'm going to say. But we would get a huge turnout, right? Because there's just not a lot of other stuff going on when it's negative 45 in January. So these groups are fantastic. Check the website. You can see where they are located. Another great way to get involved. Everything we do at Hiring Our Heroes is free. We are a nonprofit. So we have hiring events all over the country, several hundred per year. I am not on the events team, but I can tell you a little bit about them. We have transition summits, we used to call them, now they're called career summits, because we're not just focused on transitioning service members anymore. We want to include everybody, right? So military spouses, veterans, transitioning service members. So we do these events all over the country. Again, they're on our website. They're always free for you to attend as a potential employer or an industry representative. They're always free for our job seekers. And these are usually 2-day events. There's workshops, there's panel discussions. You could be on a panel to talk about the hospitality industry, the sales and marketing side of that. We'd love to have you. And then there's always a career fair kind of event attached to that. So for those of you in talent, right, anytime you can get to an event and get access to great candidates and you don't have to pay for it, that's usually a easy thing. I always say I would be a terrible salesperson. This is probably not the field for me, but I can sell free. So these are free and they're awesome. Don't ask me to sell anything that costs something. Okay, another amazing event that we do. These are 2-day, we call them Amplified Career Intensives. I've attended 2 of these. They're all over the country. I think we're doing 12 this year. We did only 6 last year. So these are 2-day events in which we invite military spouses to focus on their careers for 2 days, as I've said several times. But we do professional development, not just your basic resume writing, but really get in depth with the resumes. LinkedIn intensives, because LinkedIn is a mystery for some folks still, but it's such a valuable tool when you're a job seeker that you really have to kind of embrace the LinkedIn thing, whether you want to or not. So we teach LinkedIn, talk about your elevator pitch, how do you talk about the gaps in your resume, talk about just figuring out what you want to do. We also have a mentorship element, another way you can get involved, in which we call it a mastermind match. So if we have a military spouse, they all register ahead of time. If the military spouse identifies, I'm thinking about a career in social work, then Amanda would call me and say, hey, can you mentor this person, because I'm a licensed clinical social worker. That's my background. So I will talk to them about social work and answer any questions they have. If somebody says, I want to get into hospitality or sales or marketing, one of you could be a mentor. Again, this is all free to everyone who participates. So these are some of our dates and locations for our Amplify events this year. Again, if you see one near you, you can always just contact me. There's always links on the website, but hopefully Fran will share with y'all my information. It's ltepesky@uschamber.com, but again, I know Tepesky is a tough one, so we'll go over it at the end. Okay, so other things that we have going on in 2019. We have a digital platform we're really excited about. I just saw the the trial run of it last week, in which you can log in as an employer or as a job seeker. If you're a job seeker, you get to create this great profile. Employers can then search for you based on your location, skills, all these other things. But it's, of course, free, so great way to get people matched up with each other. One of the biggest challenges I hear from employers is I don't know how to find military spouses, so this is one of the efforts we have to get them connected with employers who want to hire them. So, oh, here we go. These are, I knew there was a slide in here with the military spouse economic empowerment zones. So check it out. If you see a site that is near your location, definitely reach out. The ones in blue are current, and the green are ones that are launching in 2019. Okay, this I can speak to, and this ties in nicely to what Fran and I are, not me so much, but Fran and our spouse team in DC are planning to kind of launch, and she's going to talk a little bit more about this pretty exciting opportunity. So, Corporate Fellowship Program has been around for a few years now. This program came out of the military's realization that they were paying hundreds of millions of dollars every year in unemployment to the Department of Labor. So when a service member left the military, applied for unemployment, that bill obviously goes to their branch. They have to pay the Department of Labor. So the military finally realized maybe we should actually help people get jobs, right? Really novel, before they leave instead of after. So while a service member is on their last 180 days, they can ask for permission from their commander to participate in the corporate fellowship. And that just means that they're matched with a company, with an industry for 12 weeks, and they get to work and be like a civilian, which is a scary idea for a lot of people, right? But this is an awesome opportunity for them to get to test an industry, test out a career with the safety net of their active duty salary and benefits. The beauty of that is because they're being paid by the military, they are free to the host company, right? So all my HR legal people, when they hear unpaid internship, right, they immediately go running for the hills. This is not an unpaid internship. It is paid by the U.S. government, by the DoD. So you get to have this person for up to 12 weeks, do a test run, and if they're a great fit, you can hire them. So we started this a few years ago just with service members. And then, another light bulb epiphany, let's open it up to military spouses. So the challenge here with spouses is, again, remember I said that thing about unpaid internships that freaks everybody out. We had to figure out a way to compensate and provide a stipend for our military spouses who participate. So there's a couple ways we can do that. And one such example is our Anne Arundel Workforce Grant Program. So for anyone who's in Maryland, any of our spouses, we have a grant that allows them to participate in a fellowship for 6 weeks. They receive a stipend from this workforce grant. And so it's very similar to the program for service members. It's just for spouses. And the reason why it's 6 weeks, because you're probably thinking, why is it 6 weeks if the service members do 12? Well, for one thing, the spouses are not waiting for their command or for the military to release them from active duty, right? So they're available for work right away. And we actually started out with a longer program, and then we realized the companies were all saying, like, we really want to hire this person now. We don't want to wait. This person's fantastic. So 12 weeks was just too long, because after a few weeks they're, said, man, this is someone we want to add to our team. So that's why it's 6 weeks. So far there's over 100 spouses who have gone through this program just in Maryland, being matched with companies and getting job offers at the end. We do have some other locations around the country where we're able to do it based on workforce grants. We have some in Texas. I'm able to take some spouses here in Colorado Springs, but it all just depends state by state on the funding. So it's not as universal as the program for our active duty members, but we're hoping that it gains momentum after the fine example that Maryland has provided to us and the success rate of the program. I think there's some statistics down there that may be hard to read, so I'll break my rule and read it to you, but 86% of the spouses who went through were placed into permanent positions, which is pretty awesome. And I challenge you to find a workforce program. If any of you have worked with your local, state, city, kind of workforce development programs, very difficult to find success rates, 80-some%. If they get to 20 or 30%, they're pretty thrilled usually. So these are some pretty amazing numbers with our Maryland program. So Fran will talk a little bit more about the actual partnership that we're working on between Hiring Our Heroes and HSMAI, because I don't know the finer details. Remember, I'm the cheap person who lives here in the spring, so they called me in to educate you about Hiring Our Heroes. I just don't know all the fine print, but Fran does. But before I turn it over to Fran, I will take a breath, because I think I've been talking nonstop for 10 minutes. I want to open it up to any questions that y'all have about hiring military spouses, other ways to get involved, questions about hiring our heroes in general. Don't be shy. Yes, sir?
Oh, sorry. Hi, Lauren. Wonder if you're already employing military personnel that either stepped out of the military or are already spouses, but we've never talked about these programs. We just happen to have people that we're working with. Do we step into the program, or do we just keep doing what we're doing? Or?
Okay, very good question. So, I think probably most of you heard, he said, what if we're already working with veterans or military spouses? So you have a couple of options here. If you want to continue to augment, of course, and have another avenue to bring in talent, then definitely get involved with any of these programs. There's no reason you can't, the more the merrier, right? But I also didn't mention our 100K initiative for military spouse hiring. So we started this last year. It's a 3-year initiative to have employers across the United States join together and hire 100,000 military spouses. So if you go to our website and click on the 100,000K, or the 100K, 100,000K would be a lot. Cannot do the math, but that would be a lot. So click on the 100K, and you can either track military spouse hiring. It gives you an avenue to do that. Because what we have found with HR, right, in most corporate kind of hiring structures, they may ask for veteran identification. They don't necessarily ask for people to identify as military spouses, so it can be really hard to track. So through this 100K initiative, you have the ability to track your military spouse hires. You can also pledge to hire a certain number and then report those as you hire them. There's no downside. They're not going to come after you if you pledge 100 and you only get 90. It's just a way to help companies have a goal to work towards. And there are a lot of resources on how you can actually bring those spouses on, how you can identify them, all on the website. But yeah, so we're happy to either augment what you already have, or if you want to highlight those that you do have already, check out the website. Another thing that I found for employers is very helpful, and they do this with my corporate fellowship program, is talk to your communications team or whoever you have that handles your PR and your marketing, it's you guys. Talk about doing profiles or blog posts or LinkedIn features on any of your veteran employees, your military spouse employees. Those get a lot of traction, they get a lot of numbers. People love a feel-good story, right? They love the emotional story. We have a fantastic video on our website. It's called the Jason and Keisha story, and they are 2 married service members who went through the corporate fellowship, one with Amazon, one with Lockheed, and it talks about their experience in the program and how at the end they were able to buy a home for the first time in their life. It's one of those tear-jerker, fantastic, inspirational videos. But we have found that our employers that highlight their spouses and highlight their veterans definitely get a lot more interest in the military population or spouses for working there. So we always hear military spouses and military members, we hear companies say, oh, we're veteran friendly, right? But what does that mean? Right? It doesn't necessarily mean anything. So you like veterans? Everybody likes veterans, right? Everybody likes a military spouse. Nobody's going to say anything bad about the military population. It's like one topic in America that is pretty much, unequivocally agreed upon on both sides of the aisle. So it's a pretty safe, demographic to kind of embrace, right? But if you're actually military ready, that's what we encourage you to kind of frame your military programs as. Don't just be military friendly, military ready. So you don't just say you support the military and you support spouses. You actually demonstrate how you do that. right? Because you hire them. You don't just hire them, but then when it's time for them to PCS, if they're a military spouse, you have other options for them to, stay with your company, stay with your hotel brand, help them move with their career. Those are ways you can actually demonstrate that you're ready to take on military members. And again, there's more resources on our website. What else? Other questions?
Hi, Lindsay. Thank you, first of all, for your service.
Thank you.
I just wanted to see, on the corporate fellowships, how far are they allowed to travel for that type of a program?
Ooh, great question. Okay, so the beauty of the corporate fellowship is the Army and the Air Force, different branches, have now approved what's called PTDY authority. So for those who don't have a military background, that just means that they can get approval from their commander to participate in the program elsewhere, right? So not where they're stationed. So for this, we run 3 fellowships per year. We have one starting just coming up in May, and I have 32 applicants for here in Colorado Springs. About 1/3 of those applicants are from other military installations across the country. So what will happen is you may be transitioning out of Fort Bragg, North Carolina, but you're originally from Colorado, or you were stationed here previously, you bought a house, you want to retire, I mean, who wouldn't in Colorado, right? So they can get permission to do the fellowship at a different location. Most of our fellowship opportunities happen around our 15 existing sites that are on our map. And they're usually within about 75 miles of those locations. So I have fellows here out of Fort Carson who are placed everywhere from the Springs all the way up to Denver because they're willing to commute and they are considering living in Denver afterwards. So as long as it's within, 75, 80 miles, that's great. But even if you're not, if you're in a location where service members want to go or military spouses want to go, then they can use that PTDY authority to apply for locations elsewhere. Yep. What else?
So,
easy audience.
you are great.
Oh, thank you.
So, we're early in this effort to partner with the U.S. Chamber, and they're hiring their heroes, but we are partnering. I have a partnership agreement in my computer that just needs to be printed and signed and sent back. And just so you know, it's in the military spouse area of it, the effort. And I'll tell you already, so the fundraising we're doing, some of it will go toward paying for the stipends of the military spouses being put through the fellowship program. Accor Hotels just recently committed $250,000 to it. So thank you, Accor Hotels, right? Now, it won't all go to that. It also goes to development of hospitality and influencing hospitality students and research to be about sales, marketing, and revenue management as well. But the first 10 fellowship program is going to be in the National Capital area with their 2 hotels in Washington, which would be the Fairmont Georgetown and the Sofitel DC. So we'll have 5 fellowships in each of those hotels. So it's a start. When I met with Eric Ebersol at the Hiring a Hero CEO, I said, I came in, like I normally do, sucking the life out of the room, and I said, how many do you think we can get through in the first year with this initiative? And he said, well, what are you thinking, Fran? And I said, well, I don't know. What do you think, 1,000? 5,000? And he said, why don't we start with 50? So we're going to start with 50, but we're really excited about it, and it offers the opportunity to serve in a way we haven't done before through the foundation of HSMAI, and you can see what a pleasure it will be to work with them. So, Lindsay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
So the other thing, and the reason we took the opportunity to bring Lindsay here and to talk about it, because you see the opportunity to overlap with some of the chapter efforts, right? So there could be an opportunity for, and then what will happen is Jenny and I will work on where those locations have a good match, and what might happen with the job fairs, or what might happen with something you could do to be serving as a voice for HSMAI in your chapter on one of their panel discussions at some of those military spouse job opportunity services. They've got like hundreds of them, right? So I hope you'll be interested. If you are, let Jenny and I know, and we'll start putting you on the list. Again, we're just starting, but we wanted you to see it. We didn't want you to miss it, so that's why Lindsay came. Thank you, Lindsay, very, very much. We are now going to take a break. 15 minutes, all right?